welcome. This is the second installation in our Live Full Bloom series brought to you by the stunning, the amazing Bloom Gin. Welcome back if this is the second time you're joining us. And if you're joining us for the first time, we hope that you're going to be as inspired as we were the first time round. For those who don't know me, my name is Roxy Berger. I am a TV host and a businesswoman. It's awesome to be with you. You might have recently seen me on a show called How Do I Look South Africa on E! Entertainment. It's an honor to be with you again this evening. And I hope that we're all going to be inspired just as much as we were inspired the first time round. We reassessed last time. We spoke about decluttering our lives and starting again, starting afresh. And it truly was an inspiring chat. And I'm sure tonight is going to be no different. The message that Bloom Gin is all about, it was captured the first time round. And it basically goes, when women support women, we bloom. And I think that that is so incredibly true. So let's support one another. Let's uplift one another for the next hour, and let's have a good time. I must just add as well, the first time round, we were so lucky. We got to chat to the founder and master distiller of Bloom Gin, Joanne Moore. So inspiring. She unfortunately can't be with us this evening. However, we do have a little clip for you, and we're going to go over some of the things that we chatted to her the last time round. I asked her, for example, why she wanted to create a female-centric brand and to tell us about Bloom Gin and what it's all about. We also asked her about the botanicals, the chamomile, the honeysuckle, and the pomelo, which are the lead notes in Bloom Gin. It's a very interesting story, and that's a good one. And then the inspiration for us, what you can mix Bloom Gin with, because at the moment, I know that a lot of us have got some very dry pantries. There's nothing there, there's no tonic, and some people just don't like tonic water. So we asked her for some inspiring mixes there and how we can zhuzh it up. So take a look and let's have a listen to Joanne Moore.
Yeah, so normally when you're doing creative briefs, you'll normally get a creative brief. So somebody wants you to either they'll give you an idea, or they'll give you a benchmark or a style. And what was really unusual about Bloom is that there was no creative brief. I'd just been made master distiller, and I was given a blank piece of paper, and my task was to create a premium gin, and a massive task to do. Quite scary, didn't kind of know where to go with it, but as like my first role officially as master distiller, this was going to be my first baby, the first one I wanted to do properly. So it'd always be a London dry, and I kind of just looked at flavours that were out in the market, see what other gins were doing, and I noticed there's a real gap for florals. And I was also acutely aware that a lot of people that said they didn't like gin said they didn't really like that overpowering juniper smell. A lot of females didn't really like that kind of the strong camphor smell. So I wanted to create a gin that was light and floral, and that would lend itself better to a more female palate. So it kind of just came through using my imagination, looking at flavours that I liked, and it was always around this kind of vision of florals and citrus. So you have to kind of use what's in your store cupboard. A lot of people don't actually like gin and tonic, and when they say they don't like gin, it's probably the tonic they don't like. So I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of tonic either. Sparkling water, if you just want to carbonate the drink and you want a long tall drink, stick some carbonated water in there, some sparkling water. Lemonade works really well, or ginger beer works really well. So any kind of soft drink that you have, or even just juice, gin and juice works really well. So it's about looking at the keynotes in the gin and then trying to match it with kind of flavors that you've got in your soft drinks. Or ultimately, you could just have the martini, and the classic martini is just pure gin.
Thank you so much, Joanne. That is Joanne Moore. She's the master distiller and founder of Bloom Gin. A very inspiring woman. I love talking to her the first time round. Tonight, we're going to be looking ahead, and we're going to be celebrating the trends for autumn-winter 2020 and what you can look forward to this season, giving you some ideas from our trend style guide and chatting to the who's who in the fashion and entertainment industry. So let's have a look at what's coming up tonight. So, the theme for the first installment of our Live Full Bloom webinar series was all about cleaning up, decluttering your lives, and giving away those items that you may not need in your wardrobe anymore. This goes hand in hand when we talk about our partner, Vintage with Love, a fantastic organization who do such incredible things for literacy in this country. And our first speaker is going to tell us a little bit more about Vintage with Love because she founded it, and also how to buy vintage. I think that shopping for vintage isn't the easiest thing. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to the founder and fashionista. She loves fashion, a fashion lover, and she's somebody who's taken fashion and made it a passion and given it some purpose. Jackie Myberg.
Now have a Cape Town vintage sale as well every second year. So it's Joburg, Cape Town alternate years. And all the money raised goes to literacy charities. So we last year, the Cape Town sale run by Debbie Smuts raised 1.6 million rand. And all the money that we raise goes to 6 or 7 really, really established and organized and reputable literacy charities that are making a huge difference. So while we are doing the work marking clothes and selling clothes and buying clothes, the real people doing the hard work are these literacy charities that we can support.
Phenomenal. I think it's an amazing, amazing thing that you do. So hopefully we can support you, but we can actually, and that's what series 1 was all about. We decluttered our wardrobes. You took us through that, and we encourage people to still please do that. Carry on decluttering those wardrobes. Carry on finding those items that you can donate to Vintage with Love. But tell us about tips and tricks in terms of buying vintage. You know, like it's a different ball game. We're talking a different thing now.
It is, and as you said, I'm an absolute fashion lover, but mostly a vintage lover. It started a few years ago. I think I've always admired the style of Jackie Berger, who I worked with at Elle, who always wore vintage. My mum used to shop vintage. I think once it gets under your skin, you actually can't walk past a vintage shop anymore, because there is a magic about that vintage treasure hunt that I know, like Lee, I always laughs at me because I don't think she really gets it. She's had a few vintage boo-boos, but some people don't get it. But once you really know vintage, it's very special, because there are certain tricks to buying vintage well, and you can really transform your wardrobe. So I have put together a couple of rules of vintage, which people can take note of, and just bear in mind if you do get a chance to go and shop vintage. So the one thing that is really important when you shop vintage is to beware of the booby trap. That there's sometimes a reason why something has been discarded, and you have to look out why if this garment or handbag or pair of shoes is really uncomfortable, or made out of a difficult fabric, or has a zip that doesn't fasten properly, something like that. So just always look out for, you've got to try something on, you've got to give it a go before you buy it to know whether there is a booby trap there.
That makes sense. It's kind of like taking your microscope out, and you want to make sure that you look very carefully.
Make sure you don't fall for the same mistake that someone else made. But that doesn't always happen. The other thing is a Prada bag on the screen is designer labels. For many of us, buying designer clothing or garments or bags new at full price is not a reality. So that's another wonderful thing about vintage, that if you find great treasure troves of vintage, you can buy really good quality designer label fashion at really good prices. So that's a fantastic thing about vintage. Is also I've loved that, being able to buy designer pieces. The secret is, though, not to just be seduced by the label, that think it's Prada, I must buy it. It's still got to be part of your style. It's got to work with your wardrobe. Don't just fall for the label, because you will again end up with a cupboard full of clothes that you don't wear. But
I guess that's the same thing about trend. Don't fall into the trap of just following a trend blindly.
Exactly. Still got to be your style. Yeah. But look out for labels. I mean, that's a great thing about vintage is those labels. Then my favorite, I'm an absolute sucker for leather and suede, and that is a fantastic thing to buy at vintage shops, because again, leather and suede can be very expensive, new and at high end boutiques. If you can find good quality leather and suede on vintage, the prices are always great. And the nice thing about leather is it lasts forever. If it's good styling, it'll be with you forever. And also, ultimately, leather looks better the longer you wear it. So that's one of my favorite things to buy at vintage.
Love that. It's a great piece of advice, that.
Similarly, in terms of values, things like we're coming up to winter now, things like coats and boots and cashmere are also big ticket items that some of us struggle will balk at buying every winter because they're expensive. If you can find good coats, boots, and cashmere at vintage, snap those up because they'll make a huge difference to your pocket. Definitely. Then the next warning is to look out for damaged clothes and stains on the clothes. Again, those might be reasons why someone tossed them out because they didn't want to fix them or have them dry cleaned. Remember, having something repaired or dry cleaned can often cost you more than the price of the vintage item. So beware of that little problem as well. I think what I love most about vintage, and that's what I'm always on the lookout for, Roxy.
Oh, yes, sorry, I interrupted you. Please carry on.
No, is it, I don't really shop for basics when I shop vintage. I don't look for black pants and white shirts and blue blazers. I look for those unique pieces that are going to make my wardrobe, that are going to set it apart, that are going to go well with my high street basics from Zara and H&M and whenever. It's those unique pieces that actually give your wardrobe a twist, something that someone bought at a little boutique in Venice once, or something that you've never seen before that you can then style up with your own look and give you a unique twist.
So I guess we have to become more discerning shoppers. I guess that's what, shopping vintage is. And what would you say when it comes to sizing? Because sizing at the best of time can be a challenge. And now you're walking into a space where people have bought things from multiple different places.
Absolutely. I mean, as you know, there's a different sizing system for every country in the world. So It's really important to try things on, and just know that a 36 in South Africa is not a 36 in France. So you have to become either very size savvy or just try it on, because that's a potential pitfall if you're just going to snap it up. The bottom line is you can't rush vintage shopping. That's another rule, is you've got to give yourself time and do it properly, because that's how you find the treasures.
That's great advice. And I mean, listen, we all love a bit of a shop, so take your time. It's enjoy yourself.
The other thing, the slide just popped up, is to what I've found traveling overseas is that there's a great vintage culture, particularly in Europe and America. And if you can make the time, if you are traveling, to go to vintage shops, if you're in everywhere from New York to Nice, you will find unbelievable fashion in those shops at really good prices. So when you are traveling, factor that into your trip to find the vintage shops. And you just Google it or look in Time Out or all those websites. Everyone puts those on the map. So I would definitely put that on your to-do list.
One of my first experiences with vintage shopping was at Beacon's Closets in Brooklyn in America. And it was an eye-opening experience, because I hadn't really ever thrift shopped before that. And when I went there, it just like opened my eyes to what is possible when it comes to shopping and vintage or thrift shopping. It was phenomenal. So I agree with you. If we could ever get on a plane ever again,
we will be traveling next time we travel.
Exactly. But it'll come. We'll get there eventually.
Hope so. Okay, the next rule is
number 9.
Yeah, waiting for the markdown. So a lot of vintage shops are selling on consignment. They're selling for other people, and they have a rule that if something doesn't sell within 3 months, they mark it down. So if there's a big ticket item that you can't really afford right away, play the waiting game, because it'll be marked down, and then you can buy it. Hopefully, it might not.
I didn't know that. That's amazing. That's a very good tip to know.
Yeah. And I mean, the secret is also to make friends with the person who owns the shop, because they're often people who love fashion as much as you, and they might be prepared to phone you when the thing is marked down. They might be prepared to phone you when someone brings in a huge consignment of black leather pants or something, and they know you love those. So it is a bit of a tribe. So once you get to know places to go to and people who are in the same world, you'll find even better treasures.
Love it. And then your last tip is what you'd mentioned before, that we mustn't rush it.
Yeah, absolutely. Take your time and pop in whenever you can. If you've got a vintage shop on your radar, don't go in as often as you can, because as you can imagine, they're getting stock all the time and you don't want to miss the treasures.
For sure. Great tips. Thank you so much. And I know that you've also got some examples for us of items that we, for example, can actually find at a Vintage with Love sale. As I said, I've been before, and there's some pretty amazing items that you can find. People have come away with like some spectacular items. And I know a lot of celebrity friends have donated like incredible outfits. So tell us about some of these pieces that, you know, we could, for example, find at a Vintage with Love sale.
Yeah, as you can see the pics there, Roxy. So just before lockdown, we were literally starting to prepare for our sale, which should have been happening at the end of May. And this is us where we were. It's the area, Santon City had very generously donated a marking space and venue space for us that where we were starting to work, and had selected some items to photograph as part of the marketing on social media. And there is absolutely beautiful clothing already. People are happy for us. People do donate all the time. So we have got some fantastic bags, some fantastic dresses. And as you can see from these items, it's all really special occasion, unique stuff. This isn't just going to be black pants and white shirts. These kind of items are something that will make your wardrobe. That is the wonder of vintage. It's something that's going to give your wardrobe a special edge. And we love that that's what vintage does. We really do.
I love all of those pieces. Thank you so much. If you have
Thanks,
any
Roxy.
questions for Jackie, you can put them in the Q&A box at the bottom. We are, of course, giving away those hampers a little bit later on. And by the way, it's a Bloom Gin hamper with these beautiful glasses that come with it. I've seen the hamper. It's amazing. You definitely want to win that. So, Jackie, I know there's going to be some more questions for you coming a little bit later on, but we'll chat to you in a bit. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Roxy.
I wanted to actually answer, there was a question from Esmarie. Where can I find the first edition of the seminar? You can find it on social media. So find Bloom Gin SA, both on Instagram and Facebook. And that is where you can find the first edition of the seminar. It's all there online. So don't worry if you missed out first time, you can recap it there. A couple of great friends of Vintage with Love have sent through some awesome video messages for us. And we've got, first up, the founder and editor of Twig, Jackie May. She had a really cool video for us. Twig is a non-profit company inspired. It's a for non-profit company inspiring and supporting a modern and eco-conscious and forward-thinking lifestyle, which is very, very inspiring. So take a look at what Jackie May had to say.
Hi. It was so nice to open my cupboard this afternoon, and I feel so sentimental about my clothes. I haven't worn them for so long. I've been wearing a tracksuit pants for 2 weeks, and yeah, I feel I'm missing getting dressed up and going out and having fun. I'm not naked. I'm wearing my wedding dress. I was just put it on to see if it's something that I should toss out. And I'm not going to toss it out because I'm very attached to it, like I am to so many of these clothes in my small cupboard. It's a small cupboard with lots of clothes in it, okay? But some of these things I've had for so long. I've had these Super Ella clothes. This is very old. I still love it. AKJP, which I've had for a long time. I've got more Super Ella here. This I've had since I was 10, which was a long time ago. I wore it to my aunt's wedding, and my daughters played with it for a while, but now they've outgrown it too, and it's sitting here. I've got some Nicola West. I bought this in Durban from a market, and yeah, there's lots of stuff here that I'm very attached to. They've got stories to tell. But yeah, occasionally we need to get rid of things because either they are too small or you don't wear them anymore, and make sure you hand them over to places and to people that will wear them. Vintage with Love is obviously a fantastic charity to donate your clothes to, and and the other advice I would have is that when you do buy clothes, make sure that you buy clothes that you love and you're going to look after. And then please, when we get out of this lockdown situation, if you are going to spend money on new clothes, support our local designers. We have such a fantastic fashion industry in South Africa, and they're having a hard time. And we need to make sure that we support them, and that we spend our money on local designers rather than on brands who are not supporting families here. It's so important. Anyway, enjoy, if you can, the rest of lockdown, and keep serene, keep safe, and see you at Vintage with Love. Bye.
Amazing. A member of our Bloom Sisterhood. Thank you so much. And Vintage with Love Sisterhood, Jackie May. Thank you very, very much. I mean, she looks so fabulous, just chilling in her wedding dress in her closet. It's amazing. I love that video. And some great advice. Yes, let's support local. Let's upcycle and recycle our clothing with organizations such as Vintage with Love. I think the world has changed, and our shopping habits should change, and our perspective on lives should change, and we should support other women and uplift each other and look after each other in a sort of post-corona world. But yeah, we've got another poll question for you. So if you go to the bottom, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, there's a whole bunch of different functionalities here on Zoom. You've got your chat function, you've got your Q&A functions. Thank you for your Q&A messages. We do see them coming through, and we're going to be answering them sporadically, but there is a Q&A section right at the end. You can, of course, win yourself that hamper, so keep those coming. And here is the poll. This poll is all about vintage clothing. So we want to know, do you own vintage clothing? Do you shop vintage clothing? Have you shopped before? Have you never shopped before? No answer is wrong, by the way. We want to learn about your habits. Have you ever shopped at Vintage with Love sale? Have you been to one? And this is a very important question that we want to know from you. Do you shop for vintage online? Because obviously we're considering, or Vintage with Love are considering potentially taking something online, having an online sale of sorts if we're not able to get together anytime soon. And we do want to continue to support organizations like Vintage with Love. So I guess we need to come up with alternative solutions. So please answer those questions in the poll section. We want to know what you're after. Do you love a particular vintage era? For example, I'm a child of the 90s. Ask me any friends question and I will be able to answer. So that's my aesthetic that I would go to. So we want to know from you, what's your vibe? Answer that poll question, and we get to know a little bit more about you and your shopping habits. We're going to carry on with our agenda this evening. Very excited to introduce the next lady. You know her, you love her. She is an actress. She is an author. She's an incredibly inspiring woman in general. Leandri Durant, how you doing?
How's it, everyone? Hello, Roxy. Doing a fabulous job as always. I love listening to you. You make me feel good.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited that you're back with us. I know you had as much fun as I did the first time round.
Yeah, no, I had lots of fun, and it's good to be able to do stuff like this in lockdown. And I think it's so great that more people are becoming aware of Vintage with Love, because it's my favorite initiative to support, because I love fashion and because they support many charities, especially women and children literature, which is so important,
Yes.
And I think that buying clothes secondhand is, after all, very fashionable, sustainable retail therapy, and it's a feel-good fashion fix that doesn't add to the environmental problem of clothing overproduction. So it's really something that I enjoy supporting. And I still remember the first time ever I shopped at a Vintage with Love sale.
What did you buy? I want to know what you found. What did you scoop?
Roxy, I can't remember. My big problem, because I have so many stuff, my big problem with these vintage shopping days is that I love everything. And then I'm just like, because it's so affordable and it's something that you won't get anywhere else, and I know that no one else will have, I'm like, go, grab. And I know it's going for a good cause. I tend to overspend, and it kind of defies the point. But I do have a rule.
I'm just going to say, I know that that's not the point, but we all do it.
Yes, I know. But I mean, it really was such a special day. It was in Cape Town, and I was actually, it fell over a weekend that me and my girlfriends were in Cape Town just to have some fun. And one of our friends, Anli, she's an ambassador for them. She works for Vintage with Love. She introduced us to it and says, let's go have some bubbly, let's have some gin, at this beautiful day. And we just shopped. And it ended up being such a fun day because we all love fashion, and to see each other's styles and what comes out of it. And since then, I just fell in love with the whole initiative. I literally also donated like 5 bags full of clothing when I moved 2 months ago, just before lockdown. So I'm so grateful that I could get it to them before lockdown. And I really hope that we can have a sale soon. Really, really.
That's phenomenal. I'm also holding thumbs and fingers and doing all the things that we can all get together soon. In the meantime, we're gonna talk about tips for wearing and styling vintage clothing. You do love vintage clothing, and it is very much your aesthetic. So take us through a couple of tips and tricks on what we can do, because some people are intimidated by this. So you're the expert. Take it away.
Well, expert, I won't say expert, but thank you, Roxy. I think there's just like 4 tips or kind of things that I've noticed that helps me when I want to wear vintage pieces. The first thing, if you want to go into the vintage vibe, is to truly find your style. Like some people just go like, oh, I also want to wear vintage. And then they just tend to copy other people or influencers. And then it doesn't suit their personality, the style that they've chosen or the era that they've chosen. So I think like anything, when you choose an outfit or you buy clothes, it's very important to wear something that suits your personality and that you feel comfortable in. So that is my number 1 rule, is to always be yourself and to be the best version of yourself, because no one can beat you at being you. So whether that is getting dressed in the morning, brushing your teeth, or deciding what to eat, do it the way you want to do it. Don't try and copy someone else. Just do it the way you feel, because if you're going to embrace it and you're going to do it in a way that you love, it's going to be marvelous anyway. So yeah, that's my first tip. My page just froze. Can you guys still hear me? I don't know.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, great. This always happens to me. It happened the first time.
It's okay. I'm here to tell you that I hear you, and I loved what you just said. There's no one better at being you than you. So no, we got it.
So embrace that. Okay. Even if it's the second version of yourself, if you've reinvented yourself and you feel like your personality is secondhand, it's fine. It's still fresh. Just be who you are at this moment in your life, because I also believe our style changes as we grow and we go through phases. So embrace whatever stage you're in. And then secondly, my second tip is to pair one vintage item with modern items. So I usually will choose one item, like an old blazer from my late grandma, and then Gert will help me style it at the end of the talk, and I will pair it with just new modern stuff, like a modern skirt with a modern boot that's not secondhand, that I just bought at Zara or whatever, just to mix it up, to give it not that it doesn't look like I'm going to a costume party, and that falls into my next tip, is to not do everything vintage.
And that's literally a question that came through from Roseanne. She asked that question: do you prefer dressing head to toe in vintage, or do you prefer mixing vintage with current on-trend items, modern items? And that's exactly what she advised, and I do agree with you. Yeah,
because I feel otherwise, except if you're really going to a costume party, sure, then you can do it. Otherwise, I just feel like it feels like you're trying too hard, so that my number 2 and 3 basically falls into each other. It's like to pair one vintage item with modern clothing. And then my next tip will be to choose what you want to do vintage. So if you do big colorful earrings like 80s or whatever, do plain black clothing, like just a normal shirt dress or a normal black dress. Let the plastic 80s hoops be the thing then that's vintage. Don't make a colorful this and a colorful this and the vintage hairstyle. It starts looking like a circus, and but once again, it's your prerogative. If you want to do it, just do it. But don't be surprised if people are going to stay, but at least make it worth their while. It doesn't matter. But for me, I find it works better when I just choose like one thing that's vintage. And also that goes with my point of choosing either the clothes or either hair and makeup to be vintage. Like when you do very colorful, like I didn't put a lot of eyeliner or eyeshadow even, because I have a very colorful coat on tonight. So just one thing like a lip, but very nude makeup then and sleek hair. But if you do a color and a puff and a floral and big curls hair, it's too much. So tone down the makeup, just a lip and a vintage dress, or so choose what you feel the day. If it's just a vintage shoe and a clutch, let that be the pair. If it's just the lip and the hair, let that do the work, and do the rest is modern. So I just like to make it a third of your outfit, I think, should be vintage and the rest should be modern, if that makes sense.
I like that. I think that the rule of thirds, we'll call it. Shall we just call it that?
I love that. I absolutely love it. Okay, and then my last tip is truly to dress to your body type, as with anything, whether you're wearing vintage or secondhand or whatever. But make sure that you choose vintage items that still suit your body type. Like I have a very boyish build and I don't necessarily have a definite waist. So I shouldn't wear like too high waist things because it doesn't look nice in my waist. But if you have an hourglass, wear the nice high waist pants with the that shows your nice tiny waist, that goes over the booty. If you want to hide your butt or your sorry, English is my second language, your thighs, then wear like an
we don't
A-line
judge.
skirt.
We don't judge.
Wear like an A-line skirt to your knee. But with like me, I have very skinny, sticky legs, so I never wear something that comes to my knee, because then I look very koekerig, I look very conservative church girl. So I either wear mini or I wear a maxi skirt. It helps me. So I never choose vintage items, secondhand items that comes to my knee. I just don't like it. It doesn't suit my body type. But like I said, someone with a fuller body figure by the bum or the thighs will look very nice with the knee length skirt or whatever. So make sure you wear stuff that suits your body type, because vintage clothing, certain eras has certain styles,
Yeah. I completely agree with
if
you.
it doesn't suit your body, don't wear it.
It speaks to also like not being a slave to trend or fashion, because something just might not look good on your body shape. And that was always our number one piece of advice on how do I look, was just think about your body shape. Not every trend is for you. Like you say, not every piece of vintage clothing is for you. I love mom jeans, but like a mom jean is difficult to get right. Like it's not easy, So I think that's great advice. Thank you.
Yes, no, definitely.
So we've got a couple of great questions that have come through.
Things that I have.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. And we've got a couple of questions that have come through for Leandi, but we're going to be asking those to you a little bit later at the Q&A section at the end. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And everyone, please support. I mean, this is the most beautiful time to throw out your clothes and to just start the new closet. And now you know what to do with your clothing, your gently worn items. So please donate. But we'll chat later. We'll answer the questions.
We will. Thank you so much. Leandi Durant, everyone. She is, of course, an actress and author. She has her own business and she has her own fashion label. She loves vintage clothing. She's a huge supporter of Vintage with Love. And I think those were fantastic tips. I see all your questions coming through in the Q&A. Thank you so much. Keep those coming. And of course, if you put anything on social media, #LiveFullBloom, because when women support women, we bloom. And that's exactly what we're doing here tonight with Bloom Gin. So thank you again for joining us. We're going to be hearing from fashion writer and editor Penina Fenster now. She is, of course, a friend of Vintage with Love, as well as the SA Style Awards. And she's got a little something for us, so take a look.
Hats off, lovers, and hats off to Vintage with Love. What a wonderful cause. For as long as I can remember, I have loved books and reading and stories, and I'm so proud to be part of this incredible giving drive. So the first thing I want to say is that everything I'm wearing today is going to go to Vintage with Love, starting off with this spectacular hat. This is from my dear friend Alberto Swanepoel, and he is known in the industry as fashion's favorite milliner. His work features in Vogues around the world. His creations have appeared on the heads of Jennifer Aniston, Katy Perry, you name it. And a hat like this goes for like $350 to $500. It's couture, it's handmade. And Albertus is so happy to be sharing it with Vintage with Love in South Africa, all the way from New York. I used to wear this hat. I loved it with a pair of men's style trousers, brogues and sneakers and a little t-shirt, but it's great with a dress up look like this, and of course it's very sexy with a little black dress and a trench coat. Now to the dress, which is also going to Vintage with Love, and a story about vintage, because vintage I discovered when I was in my 20s. I was an art student, and vintage, which was then called second hand, was the only way to afford beautiful designer clothes and unique fabrics at spectacular prices, and so it is. And this is quite a sensational piece of vintage, because it goes without saying that vintage recycles, but vintage also is part of the story of fashion. So who designed this? Who wore it last? What exciting experiences did they have when they were wearing it? And what am I going to imbue in this Yves Saint Laurent original Rive Gauche dress? It's probably late 70s or very early 80s from what I can pick up. And of course it is leopard print, which I learned from another one of my great icons, Marianne Fassler, is one sensational print. leopard print can look completely contemporary. It can look punk. You just throw in some tartan. It can look sexy. It can look regal. Leopard print goes right back to ancient Egypt. And of course, Yves Saint Laurent is a great exponent of leopard print. Then to the shoes. The dress, of course, would look amazing with a pair of flat boots and do that whole city urban vibe. But I've done it with these shoes, which are Cole Haan. I paid a lot of money for them, and I bought them for the judging of Miss South Africa some years ago. I've worn them very carefully and sell them ever since. I love this ankle strap. And finally, the bracelet. So the bracelet is hammered metal, and it has a wonderful slice of agate on it. So it's a real statement piece. But if any of you wonder where I went in 2018, May 2018, when I left Glamour, I went to the Mystic. I went to explore all those areas which have long intrigued me, and those areas include crystals. So if you're part of that tribe, you'll be interested to know that not only is this going to make any outfit look fantastic, but also this is such a good crystal. It's so grounding, it's so earthing, it is so full of love, and full of love is what I wish everybody at Vintage with Love.
That's lovely. Thank you so, so much, Penina, and amazing items there. Wow, definitely has her finger on the pulse of fashion and vintage and what is cool. So thank you so much. Do continue your questions coming in our Q&A box below. Thank you so much for all of those. We do see them coming through. And now I'm going to introduce our next speaker. He is definitely one of South Africa's most sought after designers. And I almost want to say, do I call you a nose now?
No. I'm not a nose.
You're not a nose. Okay, explain that to people because they might not know what I'm talking about.
So when you design a perfume, so let's just start with that. I recently designed it right here. Let me grab it. So here it is.
It's a beautiful bottle, by
it's
the way.
called
I love
by
the
Fashion Couture Inspired. Thank you. And it comes in even a more beautiful box. Let me show you the whole package. So it kind of looks like that.
Very cool.
So this is inspired by the essence of Africa, and it's very like woody, very rosy, very everything beautiful in life. So that was my first perfume in France, with a very famous nose that has created some of the world's most celebrated fragrances. And what a nose does is they are kind of like the engineer to explain your inspiration to, and then they kind of come up with different things that complement each other. So that's a nose, and a nose studies for many years, but I can just call myself a perfume designer. So
but you are the essential, like you're living full bloom, as we like to say, because you are literally doing it all, and it's just, you're so inspiring. It's amazing. So congratulations on all of that.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're going to be chatting to us also about sustainable fashion. So let's just start there. For somebody who's got no idea what that means, what would you describe as sustainable fashion? What does it mean to shop for sustainable fashion?
So sustainable fashion is very broad spectrum. There's so many different ways to it. It is about, in general, about the environment. So it's what fabric is made of. I always ask myself, especially in recent days, when I'm designing an outfit, where is that outfit going to end next 5 to 10 years? So that is kind of what sustainability is where is the clothes that you're buying today going to end up in 5 years? Is it going to be part of landfill? Are you going to wear it twice again? Are you going to give it to, what will they then do to it? In general, we're trying to create lists, because there's so much waste happening in the fashion industry. It's disgusting, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And I think an epidemic like this coronavirus is really an eye opener for us to really see, now that the human race has stepped back a little bit, how the world has the potential to kind of heal itself. And I think that in itself is so inspiring. I mean, the hole in the atmosphere is closing, and we can see the bottom of Venice, the swans are back. There's so many beautiful stories happening around epidemic when the humans stay back. And I think it's very important for us as fashionistas to also take a little bit of responsibility. And it starts with me as the designer, kind of driving that and designing beautiful clothes for fashionistas to wear. So when we think sustainable, people immediately think, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to wear like these disgusting beige clothing made out of hemp and straw and everything unglamorous. But I've taken it upon myself as a designer to show people that sustainability is such a broad spectrum thing, that there's so many different elements to it, that for fashion itself, I'm going to do something beautiful to show people that it can be beautiful, and also just educate people a little bit about what to look for when you're buying sustainable. Like you say, what is sustainability? One side of it is where's the garment's going to land up. The other side is what's your clothes made of. And then there's this other side. It's like, how are the people treated that's making your clothes? I mean, I wouldn't want to wear clothes that's made in a factory by children or made in a factory under the worst circumstances. I want to know that people are happy that made my clothes, because happiness is so contagious, and I wouldn't like the energy of wearing something that was made by unhappy people. So that is a different side of sustainability. That's what I'm saying. It is a very broad spectrum of things, but that's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg of what sustainability can be.
And I guess one of those ways is upcycling. So it's like through sales like Vintage with Love, where we donate our clothing and we're rebuying old clothing or pre-loved clothing. Yep. Another way.
Definitely. So there's different elements of how you can become. So for me, people would ask me, but how can I become sustainable? Well, how can I make a difference? Because I know I have those questions. And one of the things are upcycling, buying vintage clothes. That's a great way to do it. Styling clothes different. When you're buying vintage clothes, think of what it can be, not really what it is. So really chopping and changing things. I mean, tailors are everybody's friends, and I've been trying to kind of instill a culture of using tailors to kind of like customize your clothes to your own body. Things that you even buy off the rack from all these department stores are not really made for your specific body. And that's what I like to say, is that take it and then just take it around the corner to your local tailor for them to just nip it in everywhere, or take it out anywhere, or kind of like cut it or chop it or change it, jumps it into a two-piece. There's so many things that you can do. Customize
in some way. I do love that. Now, you obviously have your finger on the pulse. This I know. So I wanted to find out, when we're looking to autumn winter 2020, what should we be looking out for? What are some of the trends and what's hot?
Yeah, so I hate talking too much about trends, because I feel South African women and African women in general are quite diverse, and everybody kind of likes what they like. But there's always kind of a structure holding the fashion industry together, and those are the trends. And it's really up to you how you want to incorporate those trends. But the biggest trend for winter at the moment is, and you cannot miss this trend because it's everywhere, it's the whole 80s punk look. So it's all about the sequins, the big shoulder pads, oversized jackets, really worn with beautiful, simple clothes inside. So that's definitely one of the major trends that I think the industry is leading with at the moment. Then there's other exciting trends like houndstooth. My favorite color is houndstooth, and let me just say, I have a couple.
Listen,
I'm obsessed.
I'm a girl of the 90s, and my icon is Gwen Stefani. So like, if you want somebody to have houndstooth, it's gonna be me.
Of course. So I have started making these masks also out of some of the fabrics that's left from previous collections of mine. So if those of you that don't know, this is houndstooth. It is a specific pattern, and it comes traditionally it comes in black and white, but it comes in all different shapes and sizes. So that's definitely a little bit of a trend to look out for, and that is something classical that will remain in fashion for many years, because it has been in fashion many times. And that also comes back to the whole sustainable angle, which is also a trend, but I hate to call it a trend because I feel it needs to become more of a lifestyle. But one of the more sustainable approaches to fashion trends is to buy stuff that is more classical, where I think houndstooth is one of the more classical trends that will tend to stay for longer. Then other trends to look out for. The color of the year this year is, of course, blue, and all shades of blue. So you can really go ahead and see what there is in your wardrobe that you can upcycle and just kind of like style differently to bring across that blue trend. We've seen on a lot of the runway that kind of like popped the blue with shades of yellow and gold, which I think just makes everything look a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, a little bit zhuzh, a little bit luxe.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's so easy to make an outfit look more expensive. I think for me, that is when it comes to styling, there's so many different things that you can style with. I mean, one of the other big trends that I can talk about is the fur trend. Having this faux fur trend is just really making a person look warm. We saw a lot of ostrich feathers on the runway. I'm a big fan of ostrich feathers. I think it just makes everything look a little bit more couture. But if you want to make your outfit look a little bit more expensive, it's easy if you just take an all black look, pair it with an oversized jacket and beautiful accessories, and boom, box your uncle. There you go.
I love it. You make it sound so simple. I love that about you. Thank you so much, Kat. We're going to be chatting to you in just a little bit. So stay right where you are. We'll be back with you in a little sec. Make sure you get those Q&A questions for Kat. Kat's also going to be chatting to Leandi about styling her vintage piece in a little bit. First, though, we do want to say a very big thank you to the SA Style Awards. They're, of course, a partner of ours. And we've got an awesome video from former Miss South Africa and director of Zebra Square, Claudia Henkel, as well as radio presenter, entertainer, and creative director, Taryn Louch. Both of them are going to be chatting to us from the SA Style Awards. So take a look at this.
As an SA Style Awards winner in 2016 and a host in 2018 and 2019, style is something that is really, really important to me. Style is about so much more than what you wear. Style is about who you are, how you carry yourself, and the message that you share with the world. A message that I absolutely love is the message that Vintage with Love shares with the world, pairing two of my greatest passions of fashion and philanthropy, with all proceeds going to literacy organizations. I believe that now more than ever, literacy is one of the cornerstones of education. And as a storyteller, it's so important to be able to read and write stories. Fashion is all about storytelling too. When I had a chance to go through my wardrobe, now having a little more time in lockdown, I came across so many pieces that took me on trips down memory lane. I could remember where I was, who I was with, and what I was doing when I wore some of my greatest fashion items. I came across these two items, this vintage headpiece I picked up in a little boutique in Notting Hill in London, and these Manolo Blahniks vintage that were gifted to me when I was living in New York City. And wearing them today, pairing them with this Nikki AW20 denim jacket, as well as this spring-summer cotton dress, showed me that they are just as relevant today as they were back then. Now, if you've had a look through your wardrobe and you found some gently worn pieces that you made some wonderful memories in, but that you're ready to pass on so that their legacy can live on in someone else's wardrobe, please support Vintage with Love. I think now more than ever, sustainable fashion is really, really critical. So let's give our gently worn pieces an extra long life and gift them to somebody else to be able to make their own stories wearing our greatest items.
Literacy is a fundamental human right and the basis of an individual's ability to learn. That is why we at Zebra Square and SA Style Awards 2020 are so proud to support Vintage with Love. So being in lockdown the past couple of weeks has brought back so many memories, and I have been given time to think, and the memories that have been brought up are so much of nostalgia and what I've been through and where I've come from. And so I decided to delve into my closet to revisit those memories and donate to Vintage with Love. So I found this beautiful dress that I wore during my year as Miss South Africa for a Veet commercial. And then I also believe that, but one of my favorite sayings is by Yves Saint Laurent, and he says, "Fashion fades, but style is eternal." And so that is why I'm wearing these boots, because naturally with a cocktail dress you would wear a pair of heels, but I always believe in honoring your own style. So I have a great pair of boots with a cocktail dress, and then this jacket, which I think is the most amazing sentimental piece. My father is an avid motorbike rider, and when he was a teen he had a few jackets, and this is one of them that he gave to me. So I am proud to be able to donate this to Vintage with Love, and I hope that somebody and that person that is able to wear my vintage pieces enjoys them as much as I have.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Claudia. Thank you so much, Taryn. Thank you for those donations. I know that Vintage with Love will definitely appreciate those. As we say, when women support women, we bloom. So thank you very, very much. And I know that Bloom Gin thanks you as well. I'm going to actually bring back Liandi as well as Gert, because Liandi has a particular item that she wants some help with, and she's going to be asking Katjahan to help her style this in a particular way. So Liandi, show us what you got over there.
Yes, let me see. Where's Gert? Is he looking?
Hey,
Hey, Gert. Okay.
let's see.
So I got this amazing teddy bear coat from a secondhand factory in Alberton. It's so heavy, guys. Like literally, when I pack this, I can't. If I travel with it, I have to wear it. Otherwise, it's always like, you know, overweight. I call it my Game of Thrones coat. But yeah, it's
Well,
quite something, and you can see the label in there.
But what I love about it is I love that it actually looks heavy and it looks warm. Like for me, that's the beginning of winter clothes. If you see like look warm and cozy, you must be able to want to wear it. So I would definitely, you know, the biggest trend at the moment is really to do that legging with a little short boot, similar to what Claudia was wearing earlier. I mean, those boots can just take you forever, a very long way. And then a nice chunky knit sweater. And when you wear a chunky knit sweater, there's videos all over the internet that shows you how to make it into a crop top, how to make it into different things, how to tie it back, how to shape it a little bit more.
So you tuck it under your bra, ne? The jersey.
Yes.
So clever. Yeah.
And then put that beautiful coat over it. I would prefer, because that coat is such a statement, I'd prefer like an all black look, and then perhaps picking up a little bit of the beige into the accessories. I can like if I had to design something to go with it, I'll do like a little like a pinstripe or just something very subtle that will pick up those beautiful caramel tones in the fox fur.
So this is dark brown. Do you think it's fine to just wear like plain black? It's brown, yes. Do you think it's fine to wear plain black under it, or is it a bit clashy?
You know, I feel that you need a whole other degree to combine brown and black. Like,
well, I was just about to ask. Like, some people say you should never. I remember my mother always told me, you never mix black and brown.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Put me in black and brown before, so now I'm like, I don't know, what's the rule?
Yeah, it's a very hard rule. Like it's such a fine line of what to do. I would say, just to be safe, stick to chocolate browns if you have all of those things in chocolate browns, or then swing it to the other way, pick up the beige. I mean, because it's such a chunky jacket, you can kind of go like with the lighter colors and then wear this jacket over it. There's lots of different shades of brown in that jacket that you can do. You can do some grays with it. You can even do like a beautiful, you know what I'll actually do? I'll actually style it with plum. I find like plum is such a beautiful color that goes with brown.
And then you can put a plum lip on as well.
Yes, that's
nice.
I love
and then I have one more for you, Gert. This is one of my favorite items because I can literally wear it in any season. It's not too hot or warm. It's from my grandma. It's just a plain black blazer, and it's got like square pockets, which is lovely. But yeah, and she made it herself. Can you believe that? So
no
label in it.
Made a blazer.
Yeah, there's no label in it. She made it herself.
That's
phenomenal. She wore it, and now I have it. Yeah.
Wow, I love it. I love it.
Shandor knoopie made herself with. You know what I'm saying? Shandor is a very familiar fabric material shop for those of you who don't know.
Everybody knows Shandor. Yeah.
And so what I would do with that is I think this winter we're also going to see a lot of polo necks. That is such a nice staple to just make anything look more expensive. Like for me, whenever I'm having a bad day, I wear a polo neck thing. It just makes me feel better. And that. I would definitely do like a polo neck, a very simple inside look, maybe like a short skirt, and then some stockings and a boot, and then throw that oversized jacket over it. I think oversized is so trendy at the moment. You can literally wear it over anything. If you want to make it a little bit lighter, I like the shirty of the stockings, because also one of the trends for the season is that lingerie feel. So anything a little bit satin and lacy and sheer would bring across that trend. And then the oversized jacket is beautiful. And then also perhaps belted. I mean, wearing a belt with something is so fabulous and so good.
Over it like this.
Yeah. Just bring a bit of a shape to it that will create a peplum illusion that is also very nice. You were saying earlier you have a boyish build, and things that then create volume around your hip and bust will always be great for you.
Amazing. Like this belt, I can wear this.
That belt
also a vintage stuff. Yeah,
that's great advice. I always forget about belting a blazer, and it's such an easy way to change up a look, and I forget about it all the time.
Guys, literally when I wake up, when I think women, I start with a belt, and then the rest I build accordingly. Like my whole design aesthetic goes around a belt.
Is your go? Because somebody actually asked, like, a go-to item. Would you say that like a great go-to item is a good belt?
Yeah, a good belt. Belt anything, everything. Have a beautiful statement belt or a simple belt. Or just belt. This trend has come a long way, and it's not going anywhere.
I love it. Thank you, guys. By the way, Leanne, I wanted to say to you that your pink blazers reminded me of the Bloom Gin jasmine and rose flavor.
Oh, yes. I wish I had more gin now in lockdown. Thank you. And now they can't even send us some. It's like,
that way. We all feel that way. We'll definitely be stocking up on our Bloom Gin very, very soon as we're allowed. I'm now going to welcome Jackie back because we're going to be doing the Q&A. So I'm going to go through the questions and see if there's anything specific for anyone, or if anybody wants to jump in at any time, please feel free to do so. Seppo had a great question here. What is your take, and Jackie, maybe you can answer this for us, on buying vintage shoes? I'm super freaked out about buying vintage shoes depending on how long they've been worn for, which is a bit of a good question because a shoe is kind of different to like buying someone's blazer, you know?
No, you can't really dry clean a pair of shoes, and there's a bit of a thrill factor with someone else's shoes. So for me, it really comes down to the quality. The first thing you do when you look at a pair of vintage shoes is you turn it upside down. You look at the sole, you look at the heel. You can immediately see how much that shoe's been worn. And if it's tired, it's tired. So it really is a case of finding those shoes that maybe someone wore to 1 or 2 events, or wore it and it was the wrong size. Shoes, to me, if I buy them vintage, have to be on the newish side. A tired shoe gets more tired very quickly.
But Jackie, I just want to jump in here. Don't you think that if the shoe is still like great, but you see the heel is a bit whatever, can you just take it in and put a new heel on it if it's really a shoe that you love?
Absolutely. If there isn't, cuff masks aren't too bad. If it's just a case of replacing the heel, absolutely, yeah.
Especially if it's designer, you know, sometimes you find yourself like, if it's a Manolo, we're not going to look past that, you know.
No.
Irina had a great question here. What about using vintage as part of your wedding day attire? Is it too Carrie Bradshaw, or is it possible to pull off? Gert, Leandi, what do you say?
Oh, I love Carrie Bradshaw.
Me too.
Yeah, I definitely think it's great. So if it works with your design aesthetic, if it works with your look, if it's like, I love the idea of vintage accessories. I think like a bit of an earring or a bit of like a bracelet or something like that is beautiful. Or if you're that type of bride and just do your whole dress vintage, I think that is so chic.
I love it. I'm trying to find the person who asked this question. I can't find their name right now, but Gert, somebody was also asking, where is a good spot to buy local? Leandi, you might be able to answer this question as well, because you also purchase local. You have your own brand. So where can people go to, or should they follow specific brands? What advice do you have from that perspective?
For me, I want to give tips on, because everyone knows where to buy what when you just want your normal chain store. But I love supporting like local brands, like Me and B as a sister and mom. I just ordered something from them tonight, and I already looked at what I'm going to throw out because I ordered it, because I'm like, I want to support them, especially in lockdown now, because they recently just opened again. But secondhand shops, for someone that lives in Johannesburg, in Jan Smuts, there's literally like 2. Rags and Lace, I think, and next to them is a very big secondhand shop as well. And then obviously there in Brom Fisher, there's like a little shop as well. But for me, the most beautiful secondhand clothing I've ever seen was literally at the Vintage with Love sale, and that is why I think we must just put the Vintage with Love sale online. Imagine that, Jackie. But then you have to take all those photos. There's so millions of clothes, eh?
Photograph them, Leanne. We'd love.
Lucky's like, who's gonna photograph and who's gonna?
I'm sorry, I don't have time, but I think it's a great idea. I think you must do it. Then everyone can sit at home and online secondhand shop. I don't know.
Volunteer to assist. I'll come. I'll help.
Great.
Take.
I'll market. I'll do marketing.
There you go.
Awesome.
I love that. I just want to answer a quick question from Carmen. She says that she doesn't know where to find Bloom Gin in the stores. Carmen, and anybody else who's wondering, you can follow Bloom Gin SA on Instagram and Facebook. You can DM them, tell them where you are, and the guys will let you know exactly where you can find Bloom Gin. And then Christelle's got an interesting question. I love Vintage with Love. She says, I love the organization. She wants to know, are local labels less or more expensive than international brands?
Is that at the Vintage with Love sale, Roxy?
I think just possibly at the sale or in general.
At the sale, it's really about the quality. So we mark the prices, I'm sure, as Leandri will tell you, are amazing. So they really are great bargains. But we don't mark according to import or local. We mark according to the quality. So if something is great quality and a beautiful find and a beautiful piece, it'll be a bit more expensive. But it's not. And I mean, if there is something that an expensive imported label that we know would cost 50,000 Rand new, that's going to be quite expensive. But I mean, literally the most expensive thing I think we've ever sold is 2,000 Rand. Most things are priced between 150 and 350 Rand.
That's affordable. That's great.
Roxy, I'm sorry. I just want to ask Kat, because I interrupted him, what his favorite shops or local brands to shop at. What was the question? Because I'd actually like to know, Kat. Thank you.
So for me, I think if you want to shop local, the space is good. It's a chain store. There's lots of different. I know there's a few in Joburg and there's in Cape Town and Durban. So that is great. I think for me, if you want to buy my clothes, it is available on my online store, shophat.com. And I think it's always nice to also check what YDE has. I think not all of those designers produce locally. And I think at this point after the lockdown, it's really about reviving the fashion industry and to see people that can buy as much local as possible. So I think the store, the space is great, my online store for my stuff, and then YDE is a few of the local places that sell local clothes.
Love that. Thank you.
I see somebody was asking, am I drinking Bloom Gin? I just want to clarify, unfortunately, I'm drinking water.
He wishes it was Bloom. Believe me, I'm pretty sure we all wish we had a Bloom in front of us right now. Yes, lockdown must, level whatever must come so that we can go to the bottle stores. I love this question from Carmen. What do you think is going to be the next big thing when it comes to styles from previous eras returning at the moment? So Had mentioned punk. Jackie, have you seen anything in particular that you think is going to be the next big thing?
So I think for me, what's already, I think, in stores and that I saw when I was traveling in Europe in December and all the Zara's there and everything, it's really the big puffy, I don't know, Chad, you must help me. Is that 80s or I don't know what? It's like this denim jacket of mine, also with the big sleeves and the, and the pleats. And it's very 80s for me. I don't know. But there's lots of dresses that's also floral with the big stuff.
The big shoulder pads.
And the coats.
The big
also
80s
got
shoulder pads.
like that. Big, yes. Yeah.
What I'm also loving.
So that's what I saw everywhere.
Is the 80s suit. I think suits are looking beautiful at the moment, but sort of given a modern twist, then having that matching blazer and pants with a pair of trainers and a cool belt is just fantastic.
Co-ords are a thing, and I like the fact that I'm seeing a lot of different colors, like a forest green, and people aren't afraid to rock the color when it comes to sort of a matching co-ord suit.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. That's the end of Q&A. So thank you very much. Leandi, Kat, Jackie, thank you. And I want to encourage everybody to also follow everybody on social media. Also follow Vintage with Love for updates on what's happening with the sale. I know that the team will let us know what's happening. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Roxy. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
I wanted to also add that we were going to be giving away those hampers. We're going to be giving away the Bloom Gin hampers right here for those 2 questions. So I want to thank Tsepo and Roseanne. Thank you so much for your questions. You are the 2 winners. So you'll be getting yourselves those awesome Bloom Gin hampers. And then we're going to be giving away a 3rd hamper on social media. And what we want to ask everybody to do is, all you have to do is pick an item from your wardrobe that you would like to donate to Vintage with Love, and take a picture of it, of yourself with this particular item. Show us what it is. Post it on social media and tag at Bloom Gin SA with the hashtag Live Full Bloom, and we'll be giving away a hamper there. So it's going to be hampers all round. I see that Tsepo in the chat said thank you, Tsepo. It's a pleasure. Thank you for that question. I think it was a great question. So please do follow Bloom Gin SA, follow Vintage with Love. We want to hear from you guys, and we want to know exactly what you're up to during this time. And we also want to wish you well and say that we hope that you are all safe. We hope that you enjoyed yourselves this evening. I was definitely inspired. I'm feeling inspired to go through my wardrobe and recreate some looks that I've had. So thank you so much. Don't forget to follow all of those social media handles, and don't forget that we're all here to support one another, because it is a difficult time at the moment. So when women support women, we bloom. Let's carry on with that mantra. I think that it's a fantastic one. And have yourselves a fantastic evening. Thank you so much.